Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Let's have some fun this evening. So, I'd like to start off by saying I thought Catherine, the Princess of Wales, looked absolutely gorgeous at the BAFTAs. I loved her outfit. I loved her earrings. And that was a dress she's worn before, isn't it? But the black gloves, very meow. I loved that. I thought she looked gorgeous. And William, as usual, looked fantastic. I think she's an absolute credit to our country, as are King Charles and Queen Camilla and the Prince of Wales, our lovely Prince William. But I think Catherine has I've just watched her grow so much over the years, and she's her own person. She doesn't pretend to be someone else. She doesn't try to be like Diana. And I think Diana would be so proud of her and William. I really do. Not quite sure what Diana would say to Harry and Meghan. I think we can all imagine. She might have a stiff word or two for him, but I thought she just looks lovely. And what's lovely about Catherine, and what to me shines through as beautiful, is she's becoming more confident. She was quite nervous and shy, like Diana was when she first married Charles. But they're two completely different women, two completely different characters. They don't look like each other, but what they do have in common is this, they're very humble. They're very there to like to please, to fit in, and natural, and it's really lovely to see that. And she looked divine. I loved the black gloves with that white dress and the earrings. So that was the first thing that I wanted to say. And also I wanted to mention Paul Burrell, because I hear he's not well, and I wish him all the best, because as you all know, I have read his book. I couldn't put it down. I thought it was an absolute page turner. I know he's had a lot of criticism for like spilling secrets, but I've read that book and he does not spill any secrets. He talks mostly about his life in service. He worked for the Queen for about 10 years, and then he worked for the Prince and Princess of Wales for about 8 or 9 years, and the last 2 years he was with Diana. And he doesn't spill any secrets, and he speaks very, very highly of the whole family, particularly Princess Anne. In fact, it's quite a funny story, because one of the jobs he had to do was walk the Queen's corgis. And he said, you'd think, being rather small dogs, they're not that strong. But he said he was in Balmoral, and there were 9 of them, I think, and he had all the leads, and he got a bit tangled up, and he got pulled over backwards and knocked out, unconscious. And he came round, and the Queen and Princess Anne were over him, really concerned, like, oh my God, Paul, are you all right? And he was just so in awe that the 2 ladies really cared so much. I think he's an absolute sweetheart, and I wish Paul Burrell a speedy recovery and all the best in the world. Now, coming to Meghan. I know it's been out a day or two now that Meghan apparently is upset about South Park. Now, I don't know how many of you saw my community post last night of Cam from a comedy show called Modern Family. You might not have all seen Modern Family, but I'd urge you to look it up. In fact, I'll put a link in the description to the little snippet of Cam dressed up as Meghan Markle. And that was back in 2018. If she thought South Park was harsh, ouch. Anyway, I love Modern Family. And I had heard that she's upset. Right? There's rumours they're thinking of suing South Park. Megan's upset. Well, if Megan's watching this, you really brought all this on yourself. And actually, if you're really, really upset about South Park, you're quite pathetic, actually. Because there are people out there with massive problems in life. And if you can't laugh at yourself, and I think by now we all know you are incapable of laughing at yourself, you're really going to end up damaged. Now, the reason I bring this up now, even though it's fairly old news that Megan's upset, and I think we could all probably guess her reaction, New china set, please. Or the next spare, probably got a garage full of them. Is because I've been reading about it all in the Independent newspaper, which in the UK is a left-wing newspaper that has hailed Meghan and Harry, not because they like Meghan and Harry particularly. The Guardian, The Observer, if it even does The Observer still exist? That was always the Sunday version of The Guardian. The Mirror, all the left-wing ones that pretend they like Meghan and Harry, right? I've got news for you, Meghan and Harry, if you're watching this. They don't. They're not your friends. They are your natural enemies. Because The Guardian and The Independent want to get rid of the monarchy. They want to get rid of titles. If they succeeded in getting rid of the monarchy, believe me, Meghan and Harry, they would be the first ones to rip those titles off you, take them outside, set fire to them and stamp all over them in the street. That's what The Guardian and The Independent think. So they're only kissing your butts because they think you're going to help them destroy the monarchy, which provided the titles for you, which is how you make your dollar and cheap coin these days, apparently. No one would be interested if you weren't related to the British royal family. Think about it, Harry. Nobody would be interested. You don't have any talent. You might be a nice guy. I don't know. You can't sing. You can't dance, to quote Phil Collins. You can't tell jokes. You don't really know what to put in a book and what not to put in a book, apparently. The only reason people bought the book is because your grandmother was the queen, your father's the king, your brother's going to be the king, and your mother was Princess Diana. It's not because you yourself are particularly interesting, or Meghan. It's not because either of you are particularly talented. And I think you've probably worked that out now, that you require the association with the British monarchy, which newspapers like The Independent and Guardian hate the idea of that. Now, if either of you had an ounce of sense or an ounce of PR acumen, you would have worked out when you were in the British royal family working, if you haven't worked it out by now, that your allies, your friends, the ones that you already had on side, were the Daily Mail, the Sun and the Express. They are newspapers that support the idea of monarchies, that support the idea of titles. They would have fought to the death to help you. Yes, they'll tease you. Yes, they'll rib you. Yes, they will hold your feet to the fire on occasion, because that's what they do. If the royal family didn't, and I actually think the Guardian and the Independent are required in this way, if all the press didn't hold the feet of the royal family to the fire on occasion, they'd probably get great big fat swollen heads and think they're even above God. But it's the press that keep them in check. And you basically spat in the faces of the Daily Mail, the Express and the Sun, and the Times and the Telegraph. They're two other newspapers that support the monarchy. They support titles like, I don't know, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Those titles that you do cash in on. Trust me, no one in Hollywood would have been interested in the first place. Spotify, Netflix, forget it, without the titles. Paul Burrell, who worked and did 20 years service working for the British royal family, and his association with the Queen and Princess Diana, to a certain extent, yes, he's had a very successful book, and he does give interviews because he was someone who was there. But he's not a member of the British royal family, and therefore he never got the $100 million Netflix deal. He never got the $30 million Spotify deal, even though Paul wrote a brilliant book, and I can testify. I don't care if anybody criticises me for it. It was a page turner. I couldn't put it down. He's not going to get that, even though he has that level of talent, because he's not got a title to trade off. Well, anyway, Meghan, yes, I can imagine, because Meghan can't stand an ounce of criticism. Worship, no less, will do. So I can just imagine how she is. And then I see, so this is the Independent. I mean, when I hear newspapers that she's pissed off, like the Daily Mail saying Meghan's upset, or any rumours on YouTube, Meghan's upset, I think, yeah, okay, I can imagine and I can take that with a pinch of salt. But when I see the Independent doing an article, quite a harsh, Bernie article, which basically says you deserve it, Meghan. They've looked at South Park, and I think the people at the Independent have woken up. I think a lot of people have woken up and seen what's going on. Now it's been ridiculed on that show. That's the reality. Now I see this Lilling guy, you know, I've had to learn his name, the nobody I'd never heard of before that was at the weird wedding vows. By the way, guys, I did say wedding vows earlier, but when I finished the video, Graham said, did you say wedding bowels? And Ben watched it. He said, did you say wedding bowels? And quite a lot of you in the comments said, was that bowels or vowels? It's just my bit of a lisp. Yeah, Ellen and Portia's weird wedding vowel renewal thing, vow. Yeah, this nobody that was there, that was introduced by Ellen, who doesn't have a show anymore, and I think she might be off the Christmas card list as well. Apparently, I see puff piece galore saying, whoa, Meghan's going to launch herself. She's going to come back bigger and better than ever. In fact, I saw an article today that said something like, Meghan and Harry have got so much money, they don't know what to do with it. What will we do? Which to me, having known our two psychopaths, oh dear, are things that bad? Is the money running out? Well, I'm going to bring in my royal expert now, as we all know, and give him the floor, see what he thinks of this, as everyone else has an opinion. Graham, would you like to join us?
Oh, hello, darling. Very kind of you.
And tell us, this is Graham reporting from Spain. What's your opinion?
On what?
What, I've just been... Oh, Meghan. Do you think Meghan's upset?
Meghan, if you get a job, right, where they're paying you millions and millions of pounds to do nothing, right, you're not actually required to do anything, would you kick off and blow it?
Oh, do you mean being in the
Because
royal
let's
family?
face it, when she actually married Harry, right, she's made it. That's it. It doesn't get any bigger than being a member of the royal family, does it? Especially in the UK, if you arrive in the royal family, you marry a prince, boom.
I would suggest it
You've
doesn't get
made
any
it.
bigger than that on planet Earth.
You've made it. All you've got to do is smile and zip it, and that's it. You will get paid millions and millions and millions of pounds. You'll be chauffeur driven everywhere. You'll eat the finest food, private jets, holidays, sun, you name it, you can have it. Why blow it? If someone paid me millions,
I don't think they get
to
paid
do nothing.
Graham, they don't get paid millions, but I get your point.
Why blow it? Why tell the Queen to stick her job?
I know why.
We're leaving, that's it. You know,
I know
what else
why.
is important? Whinge it. Talk about whinging. There's people out there who are starving, right? And he's going, well, that's not fair. That's not fair. William got a bigger castle than me. I got this poxy little tiny castle. And William got a massive estate in the country. And look at me. I just got a poxy little cottage in Kensington Palace. I mean, how much would that... If they said, right, we're going to sell that cottage and you can have the security of the palace to go with it. I mean, Nottingham Cottage in Kensington Palace. How much would that cost? How much would that be in the window of the estate agents for? Millions and millions and millions. And he's not happy. He's not happy. It's not good. Pokey! You know, sorry, but you've got no sympathy for people. You can't help them that won't help themselves. They'd made it. They'd already landed. They had everything. All they had to do was zip it.
Graham. I'm just going to defend Meghan here. I can't believe you're saying all these things. Don't you understand how terrible it is if you don't get the tiara that you want? That's what this... Let's face it, that's what has brought all of this about, isn't it?
There's a rack full of tiaras.
And she needs an apology.
Well, I can't have that one. Which one can I have? Or you can have all of them. Pick one of them. Okay.
It's unbelievable.
I'll have that one then. No, I've got to have the green one. That's it, I'm leaving.
I think it was him that threw the tantrum. Anyway, on a final note, just to lighten the mood even more, tonight I've been watching a really old case of a lady called Jodie Arias. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the case. Jodie Arias murdered her boyfriend.
She I just
thought I'd change that. But I was watching one of Jodie's interviews, because even though she murdered her boyfriend, she was all over the news in America. And I don't know, there's just something about Jodie. I'm going to put a link in the description to this particular bit. Something about her that just seems familiar somehow. I did notice that when she was interviewed on one of them, they asked her a tricky question and she went silent and then said something like, I'm just thinking if I'm even comfortable answering that. And it just kind of reminded me of somebody. I'm not suggesting anything, anybody's a murderer or anything like that, but it's a personality type and she looks like her and everything. So anyway, have a look at that clip. I'll put that in below.
Very interesting. There was one more thing we were going to mention.
I think that's everything. I did make notes.
Did you?
Yeah.
Maybe it was something I was going to mention and I've forgotten. Can't remember. Must have been a lie.
Happens to us all. As always, thoughts, opinions, and thank you very much for listening.